What really obvious thing have you only just realized? Story 1. I kept seeing the same Chinese characters on restaurant signs, and I always wanted to know what it meant. A week ago, I found out they mean restaurant. Story 2. That my casual coffee drinking habit, 3-4 coffees day, is causing the anxiety I've been experiencing for some time. Now I drink 1 coffee around lunchtime, only if I feel I need it and I feel better. Story 3. We went to London in primary school and went to the Houses of Parliament. I've only just realized they say ayes and noes when referring to how people vote, not ayes and noes. I thought it was a covert way to vote by turning your head a certain way or something. I only figured it out when I was watching a video with captions. Story 4. Growing up, my grandmother always used to tell me, "Sleep tight, don't let the bedbugs bite." And it always sounded like a quaint, old-timey saying to me. It wasn't until a recent infestation scare in my apartment complex that I learned bedbugs are real critters and not just a part of a nursery rhyme meant to tuck kids in at night. Talk about an epiphany that itches in retrospect. Story 5. My father herded caribou in Alaska from Heelys as a young man. For 24 years, I thought the fiber velvet literally came from cartilaginous antlers, as it's referred to as velvet in the industry for its soft feel. I've shared this lie with hundreds of people. Story 6. I was watching the TV show Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. They show the characters in different times, the past and present, so they have an old actor and young actor for each version. I was crazy impressed by how well they cast the young version of Kurt Russell's character. Like he looks so believably like him in the past. The young version is actually his son, Wyatt Russell. Story 7. Around 1 year ago, I was talking with my best friend and my boyfriend, and I realized, probably for the first time in my life, that not everyone suffers from allergies. Bear with me here. I've lived with allergies all my life. I wake up and I sneeze uncontrollably, allergic to dust, strong smells, usted to be allergic to artificial food coloring. So from the moment I wake up, I'm on it. It is a part of my daily routine. My parents, brother, and my closest cousins all suffer from allergies too. Last year, while having a couple of beers, we talked about allergies, and they were telling me how they have never had an allergic reaction. No crazy 25-in-a-row sneeze attack or itchy eyes. I was incredibly puzzled. Then I felt very stupid. Jaja. Story 8. That I'm not a bad person if I decline an invitation somewhere, and that I don't need a life or death excuse as to why I can't attend. I've always thought if someone invites me to something, I would have no excuse not to go unless there was some kind of emergency. I've stressed myself out thinking of what to wear, or researching appropriate host gifts, or what I might need for the activity, even if it's not something I wanted to do. I've known this intellectually for a while, but for whatever reason didn't think it applied to me. Story 9. The way the number keypad is laid out on a computer keyboard is the opposite, inverse of how it's laid out on a phone. For ages, I've been able to casually type numbers on the computer without looking, but I stumble over phone numbers. Story 10. I'm face blind, and I just found out how bad it is. Apparently, my UPS driver who I see every day at work is the guy who grew up down the street from me, and I thought they were 2 different people because the UPS guy wears a hat. Story 11. This was a really long time ago. I was teaching a friend math and got 2 fingers, showing 2, then accidentally pointed the rude finger. My friend was like, WTF. And I was like, bro, what? Then she told me I was pointing the rude finger. That was the first time I heard the word rude finger, so it took like forever for me to understand them. In the end, I was like, oh shit, damn. Story 12. How to use cruise control. When I was 18, my best friend and I went on a road trip, and I thought cruise control kept your car going straight and at the same speed, only to be used in long, straight stretches. Well, I didn't work, and we kept veering off the road and decided it was broken. Fast forward a couple of decades, and my husband asks me why I don't use cruise control ever, and I tell him all irritated I've never had a car it worked properly in, and he was just gobsmacked at my stupidity. He explained it to me, and I called my same best friend and told her, and she was all amazed at my newfound knowledge, and now we both use cruise control. And I'm a college graduate, home-owning, voting, parent all responsible for other humans and things, and I just never knew. Story 13. I just learned that the days of the week in French are named after the planets. Lundi, lunar moon, I knew that one. Mardi, Mars. Mercredi, Mercury. Jeudi, Jupiter. Vendredi, Venus. Incidentally, Samedi means Sabbath day, Jewish history, and Dimanche means Lord's Day, Christian history. So they have pagan Roman, Jewish, and Christian represented throughout the week. Story 14. Most people are fake. They are acting the way they think others want them to be and do not live as their true selves. I don't mean fake as in materialistic. I mean genuinely appeasing others. When you fake your true self, you actually live a life that isn't yours. Be yourselves, guys. No shame. Enjoy the life you are meant to live. Story 15. I grew up around Doctor Who, but never actually watched it for the longest time. My grandma, and apparently my great-aunt way before I was born, loved Doctor Who, so it was just always around, and I never gave any thought to the name of the show. And then finally, oh my God, it's called Doctor Who because nobody knows his real name, and they just call him the Doctor. Fucking shoot me dead or something, I was so embarrassed. Story 16. I started having anxiety, panic attacks, varied in severity, and hypochondria in 2014, followed by depression, mood swings, and suicidal thoughts in 2016, plus weight gain. Between 2014 and 2018, I was in and out of therapy and on and off a handful of meds. One medication helped but made me extremely tired, so I had to quit taking it. The rest either only worked temporarily but had unbearable side effects, or didn't work at all and had unbearable side effects. I was also using the birth control shot to help manage my heavy periods and cramps. It stopped both completely, but I decided to stop using it because I've been on it for 5 years, which was longer than I was supposed to be on it. A few months after I got off it, my anxiety and panic attacks were like 95% gone. My mood swings improved a lot too. I still have depression though, but I'm trying to work on that. So it turns out that Depot was causing all of this. I kept going to the ER and my doctor, plus different specialists, because I was worried something was wrong with my physical health. It's crazy how I figured that out on my own and not the ones in healthcare. Definitely a learning experience. Story 17. In movies, and maybe in real life, drivers are often pulled over due to a broken taillight. I thought to myself, would anyone really be pulled over for that? After debating myself, I concluded it might be either. The officer sometimes have a gut feeling about someone, using the broken taillight as an excuse to interview the driver and investigate further. Or, 2, if someone is kidnapped, or for some other reason locked in the trunk, kicking the taillight out might be the only way to signal they're trapped. As I'm writing this down, I realize it might not be groundbreaking news to anyone. Heck, it might not even be true. However, as OP asked for, it was something I realized that might be obvious. Story 18. My dad, being the subtly horrible person he was, has contributed to my completely jacked relationship experience. He died almost a year ago, and I'm in my mid-40s. I kinda whiffed that one. Story 19. There's a pizza spot in California called Pizza My Heart. It's been around for decades, and I thought the name just random and cute. It dawned on me the other day that it's a play on Piece of My Heart. Story 20. A friend of mine discovered during her grad degree that single-knob shower faucets still have temperature control. Her whole life she thought that the single faucet was just an on-off knob, and whatever temperature came out, whether ice-cold or scalding hot, was what she showered in that day. We found out when she made some throwaway comment about wishing we had a dual faucet shower. If we just let it pass, she might still be living that way. What's funnier is that she's remarkably intelligent. Story 21. The small magnification buttons on iPhone cameras actually really matter when taking photos and videos. The 0.5x, 1x, 3x are preset zoom settings using the 3 lenses to get the highest quality image. Not pinching or spreading to zoom makes a big difference. Story 22. For a long time, I thought Bombay and Pompeii were the same place. I knew that the first was in India, and the second had been buried after an ancient volcanic explosion and involved Romans or something, but just didn't connect that they were not the same place. Didn't think about it logically. Story 23. I listened to David Brent's Lady Gypsy yesterday and was looking at the cover photo. I had been thinking before, this guy looks very similar to Ricky Gervais, so I looked up David Brent to check out other images. Turns out they are the same person. This song has been on my playlist for years. Story 24. There are no blue raspberries. Since raspberry colors are reddish or purple, they started using blue 1-dye in foods or candy to differentiate raspberry flavors from grape, deep red, purple color, or red flavors like watermelon, cherry, or strawberry. Story 25. In the Eclipse episodes of Avatar: The Legend of Aang, they make a plan to invade the Fire Nation when the moon is in front of the sun. Meaning the moon is their best ally to ending the 100-year war. The moon, Princess Yue. Story 26. I just watched a Max HBO ad encouraging the viewer to escape. It got me thinking. Escapism in the form of watching movies, reading books, etc. is kind of a waste of life. Wanting to escape implies not wanting to participate in life. We have limited time in life, And where we put our attention is all we really get to choose. Choosing to spend time watching TV on a regular basis is not that far off from basically checking out and wasting away. I grew up loving movies and TV, books, video games, and all of it. But now, being halfway through my 20s, I'm starting to think I'll really regret it later on. Nothing wrong with some entertainment, folks. Just remember that those stories have nothing to do with you. Carpe diem, and don't forget to make your own stories. Story 27. I thought we all evolved from crocodiles. I just looked it up the other day, and apparently we didn't. So I was wrong on that. Luckily, I wasn't going around telling people I thought that. Story 28. Recently, I realized that the open sesame phrase from the story of Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves is actually a play on words, referring to the words open and sesame being a type of seed. It's amazing how something so obvious can go unnoticed for so long. What about you? Have you ever had a similar realization? Story 29. Maybe it's not really obvious, but I have been going to estate sales lately, in my early 40s. And yes, I've found some great deals. It also really nails home the fact that what items you keep, covet, and treasure in your life will have almost zero meaning to the people that will obtain them when you die. It's surreal to watch people pick over the corpse of another's belongings. It's weird having readings from Ecclesiastes and words from Jesus in the back of my head reiterating what I am seeing with my own eyes. These things we own are not true treasures and are often meaningless. Story 30. You know, as a kid, when they tell you to make an L with both hands and the better L is on the left? As a kid, I'd get so stressed because shit, both hands make a pretty good right angle. How am I supposed to choose? Do other people's left hands just make a prettier angle? What does better even mean? I didn't realize until a week ago. I'm 23 and almost have a doctorate. Story 31. People only hate me because I share my opinions advice. I essentially need to sit in the back of the bus socially, and people accept me, but I can't express myself. It's annoying because it's really an ego problem with them getting offended, when I'm only trying to be helpful in situations where I wish I had help when I was in it. But at this point, I'm tired of fighting two battles: express myself or be happy. I feel like the powers that be want it this way, and most people become complacent because fighting two battles is difficult, not because it's the right thing to do. Edit. My point exactly. Story 32. Only a few months ago did I realize quarter past meant 15 minutes past. Thinking about it now, it does make sense because 15 is a quarter of 60, but hearing the term made me think of the coin like 25 cents, so I assumed it meant 25 minutes past. Story 33. That when Ash Wednesday falls on Valentine's Day, Catholics actually use the charred remains of Saint Valentine for their ashes. Although beheaded on February 14th, AD 270, Saint Valentine's decapitated body was summarily burned, but rescued before it could be completely destroyed by a small group of devout Christians intent on saving the remains. The Church then secretly divvied up the relic among every archdiocese throughout Christendom, which were then further divided and shared among regional congregations. Story 34. If you're cutting a lot of onions, food industry, or just big family dinner, wet a paper towel or washcloth and cut the onions on top of that. Allyl sulfide, the irritant that makes you cry, looks for the nearest wet surface to attach to, which is often your eyes. If you place something damp under the onion, all the irritant will just flow down into it. Story 35. A guy I work with loves Fallout New Vegas as much as I do, and I cannot remember the conversation we were having, but it involved me pointing out that Rex is Latin for king, and he just realized that the Kings give you a dog named Rex, but just thought it was a basic dog name. Story 36. I knew this long time ago, but so many still don't know that it is not you have another thing coming, as in if you thought I was going to retaliate, you have another thing coming. It is actually another think coming, literally meaning think again. I see this phrase used wrong in TV dialogues, books, etc. Story 37. Rich men and mobsters in the movies were always bragging about their Cuban cigars. I asked my dad what the big deal was, and he said they were illegal to own. For 2 decades, I assumed they were illegal because they had marijuana in them. I only found out when the embargo was lifted that that wasn't the reason.